10 snake plant signs. Your house plant is giving you hello friends and welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you found your way here today, chances are you're someone who loves the comfort of greenery in your home, who feels a sense of peace when walking past a lush corner of leaves, or perhaps you're just starting your journey as a proud plant parent. Maybe you're a busy professional looking for low-maintenance beauty, or a weekend gardener who finds joy in small rituals of watering, repotting, and watching life unfold in pots and planters. And if you've ever stared at your snake plant, those tall, sword-like leaves standing proud, and wondered, what is it trying to tell me? You're in the right place. You see, snake plants don't talk in words, but they do speak through their leaves, their colors, their growth, or sometimes their lack of it. Every wrinkle, bend, or shade of yellow is a quiet message waiting for you to understand. In today's video, we'll uncover 10 signs your snake plant is giving you and what those signs mean, so you can not only keep your Sansevieria alive, but help it thrive for years to come. So grab a seat, get cozy, and let's learn the secret language of one of the most iconic houseplants together. And before we dive in, if you love discovering practical, inspiring plant care tips and want to make your home greener, warmer, and more alive, don't forget to hit subscribe to Earthly Delights. That way you'll never miss a chance to grow alongside us. 1. Yellow or browning leaves. When your snake plant starts to whisper trouble. One of the first and clearest ways your snake plant tries to speak to you is through the color of its leaves. Picture this. You glance at your Sansevieria, and instead of its usual deep green blades, you notice patches of yellow or streaks of brown creeping in. Sometimes this is nothing to panic about. An older leaf has lived its life, and it naturally fades as new growth takes its place. But when you begin to see younger leaves changing color, or several older ones yellowing all at once, that's when the plant is quietly raising a flag. Most often, the culprit is water, either too much or too little. Snake plants are desert survivors at heart. They love to dry out between drinks. If you keep the soil soggy, the roots can suffocate, eventually rotting away, and that decay rises up into the leaves. On the other hand, if you've forgotten about your plant for far too long, the leaves can also fade and weaken from thirst. Light plays its part too. While snake plants can survive in dim corners, they shine brightest in steady, indirect light. Without enough, the leaves grow tired, pale, and discolored. So what's the remedy? Patience and rhythm. Wait until the soil is bone dry before watering again, and when you do, water deeply. If you suspect light is the issue, gradually move your plant closer to a brighter spot or offer a gentle grow light to lift its spirit. Think of it as restoring balance. Water, light, and time. Once you adjust these simple things, your snake plant rewards you with firm, upright leaves, reminders of resilience and quiet strength in your home. 2. Mushy, soft leaves. The secret sign of drowning roots. Now let's move from color to texture, because sometimes your snake plant doesn't change its shade first. It changes the way it feels. Imagine reaching out to touch those normally firm, sword-like leaves, and instead of strength, you feel softness, even a mushy collapse beneath your fingers. This is one of the most urgent cries for help your plant can give. What it's really telling you is, I'm drowning. Snake plants are built to store water inside their thick leaves, much like a camel stores it in a hump. That adaptation makes them tough survivors, but it also means they can't handle too much moisture around their roots. When the soil stays wet for days on end, oxygen is pushed out and the roots begin to suffocate. Before long, fungi take advantage, leading to root rot, a silent destroyer that works its way upward until the once strong leaves turn soft, discolored, and unable to stand tall. If you've ever pulled a plant from its pot and caught that unmistakable sour smell or spotted brown, slimy roots, you've seen the hidden damage overwatering can cause. But here's the good news. Your snake plant is resilient. By trimming away the rotted roots, letting the healthy ones breathe, and repotting into a gritty, fast-draining mix, you can give it a second chance. Switching from plastic to terracotta pots can help too, since clay allows extra moisture to escape. And here's a gentle reminder. Snake plants will forgive you for neglect, but they rarely forgive heavy hands with water. So if you're unsure, always lean toward less. Think of it like this. Your plant would rather go a week thirsty than spend one day drowning. With the right balance, those firm, upright leaves will return, carrying the quiet strength that first made you fall in love with this timeless houseplant. 3. Wrinkled, shrunken leaves, the silent plea for a drink or more space. As we continue to listen to the language of your snake plant, sometimes the message doesn't come through color or softness, but through shape. You look closely and notice the proud, stiff leaves you love beginning to shrivel, folding into themselves with fine wrinkles or a thin, tired look. This is your plant whispering, "I'm thirsty," or sometimes "I need more room to breathe." Snake plants hold water inside their leaves, and when reserves start to run dry, the leaves shrink the same way our skin does when we're dehydrated. It's the plant's way of conserving energy, signaling that it has gone too long without a proper drink. But before you rush to water, there's another hidden possibility: roots that are too crowded. Over time, the root ball expands until it circles the pot like a tight knot, making it hard for the plant to absorb water, even if you're providing it. The leaves then wrinkle not from neglect, but from lack of access. The solution here is simple, yet powerful. When the soil is completely dry, give your plant a deep watering, slow and steady until water flows from the drainage hole. This thorough soak restores hydration to every corner of the root system. And if you suspect your snake plant has outgrown its home, gently slide it out of its pot. If you see roots tightly coiled and pressing against the sides, it's time for a move. A slightly larger pot, filled with a fresh, well-draining mix, is like giving your plant new lungs to breathe. What's beautiful is how quickly snake plants bounce back from this state. Within days of proper care, the wrinkles soften, the leaves plump, and the plant seems to sigh in relief. For plant lovers, especially those balancing busy lives, this is a comforting reminder. Even when neglected, the snake plant forgives, heals, and thrives again with just a touch of attention and space. 4. Drooping or leaning leaves when strength begins to falter. Now let's turn to a sign that's easy to notice but often misunderstood. The moment your snake plant's once rigid leaves begin to droop or lean awkwardly to the side. At first glance, it might look like simple untidiness, but really it's your plant's way of saying, "Something is throwing me off balance." There are a few reasons this can happen. The most common is, once again, too much water. When roots are weakened by excess moisture and rot sets in, the leaves lose their sturdy foundation. They can no longer anchor upright, and so they begin to bow under their own weight. On the other hand, insufficient light can also make your plant reach and stretch in search of energy, leaving the leaves thinner, weaker, and more prone to bending. It's a quiet reminder that while snake plants survive in low light, they truly flourish when given steady, bright, indirect light. But there's another subtle cause many plant lovers overlook: environmental stress. A snake plant positioned near a drafty window, in the path of air conditioning vents, or too close to a wall where air doesn't circulate well, can begin to lean as it tries to adjust. Even crowding from other plants can cause leaves to tilt, competing for space and light. The fix is part observation, part gentle adjustment. Allow the soil to dry out completely before the next watering. Rotate your plant every couple of weeks so each side receives light evenly. If drafts or poor placement are the issue, shift it to a calmer, more stable location. And if rot has already weakened the roots, act quickly. Trim the damaged parts and refresh the soil so the plant can rebuild its strength. When the balance is restored, the transformation feels almost magical. Leaves straighten, growth steadies, and your snake plant once again becomes the bold, architectural presence it was meant to be. For any home gardener, seeing a plant recover from a droop is a reminder of resilience, not just in plants, but in ourselves too. 5. Leaf splitting and cracking, the hidden scars of stress. Every plant tells its story not just through color or posture, but sometimes through the fine scars written across its leaves. With snake plants, those scars often appear as splits or cracks that run down the long blades. At first, they may look alarming, as if the plant is breaking apart. But really, this is your Sansevieria whispering. Something in my environment is wearing me down. Cracks can form for many reasons. Sudden shifts in temperature, like a cold draft in winter or a hot blast from a nearby heater, can shock the leaves, causing them to split. Fluctuations in humidity also play a role, with dry indoor air in particular pulling moisture away too quickly. And sometimes the cause is as simple as rough handling: a bump during repotting, a fall from a shelf, or even curious pets brushing past too often. These moments leave lasting marks, just as scars on our skin remind us of challenges overcome. Fertilizer can also leave its fingerprints here. Too much feed too often stresses the plant from within, stretching its leaves beyond what they can handle. And while bright light is good, direct scorching sun can burn and crack the tissue, leaving permanent imprints of stress. The key here is not panic, but perspective. Some cracks are unavoidable, and they don't mean your plant is doomed. Think of them as badges of resilience, proof that your snake plant has endured and adapted. What you can do is reduce the chances of more appearing. Keep your plant in a steady environment, protect it from harsh drafts and blazing sun, and fertilize sparingly only when growth is active. Over time, new leaves will emerge whole and unblemished, a quiet promise that with patience, the plant will heal. And as you watch fresh growth rise above the scars, you'll be reminded of one of the great truths of gardening. Imperfections tell a story, but they never erase the beauty of life pushing forward. 6 brown tips when the edges tell a story. Another subtle but important way your snake plant speaks is through its leaf tips. You might notice that the once sharp ends begin to turn dry, crisp, and brown. At first, it seems like such a small detail, but in truth, these tips are like punctuation marks, tiny warnings at the end of each leaf, telling you that something in the care routine is slightly off balance. One of the most common reasons for brown tips is excess fertilizer. Snake plants don't need much feeding to thrive, and when they get more nutrients than they can handle, the salts accumulate in the soil. Over time, that buildup pushes stress right to the ends of the leaves, leaving them scorched. Tap water, especially if it's heavy with minerals or chlorine, can create a similar effect. Another quiet culprit is the air around your plant. Dry heating in winter or blasts of cold air in summer both take a toll on the sensitive leaf tips. But here's the comforting truth. Brown tips are rarely fatal. They're cosmetic signs, a little reminder that your plant has limits. The fix is often as simple as adjusting your rhythm. Flush the soil with clean water now and then to wash away salts. Use rainwater, distilled, or filtered water if you can to avoid excess minerals. And remember, a light hand with fertilizer is better than a heavy one. Feeding only during the growing season and pausing when winter slows everything down. You may not be able to erase the brown tips, but new growth will appear fresh and healthy, showing you that your adjustments worked. Think of those crisp edges not as failure, but as gentle feedback. Your snake plant teaching you to fine-tune your care. It's a small but powerful reminder that thriving plants, much like people, flourish best when balance is respected. 7. Growth stalls. When your snake plant seems to stand still, there comes a moment when you look at your snake plant and realize nothing has changed for weeks, maybe even months. No new leaves rising, no signs of fresh energy, just stillness. To many plant lovers, especially those who treasure visible progress, this pause can feel worrying. But when your Sansevieria stops growing, it isn't always a sign of failure. Instead, it's your plant whispering, "I need a little adjustment, or maybe just a season of rest." Snake plants naturally slow down in cooler months. During winter, they conserve their strength, waiting for warmth and light to return. This dormancy is completely normal, and no amount of extra fertilizer or water will coax them into speeding up. In fact, pushing them too hard during this time can cause more harm than good. But if you notice stalled growth in the middle of spring or summer, the season of abundance, that's when you should take a closer look. Often the cause is roots that have outgrown their container. Imagine trying to breathe with your shoes 2 sizes too small. That's what a root-bound snake plant feels like. Water and nutrients can't move freely, and growth grinds to a halt. Overwatering can also be a hidden thief of growth, slowly damaging roots until they can no longer fuel new leaves. And of course, insufficient light is another quiet factor. Without enough energy, the plant simply has no strength to expand. The solution begins with observation. Gently slide the plant out of its pot to check the roots. If they're circling tightly, repot into a slightly larger container with fresh, well-draining soil. Place the plant in brighter, indirect light to encourage photosynthesis. And remember, patience is part of the process. Sometimes your snake plant is simply pausing, storing up energy for the next burst of growth. Trust that with the right conditions, those upright leaves will soon rise again, a testament to resilience and steady care. 8. Pests, the tiny intruders that break the peace. Even the toughest houseplants have their weak moments, and snake plants, though famously resilient, are no exception. Every now and then, you might notice an odd shimmer on the leaves, a sticky residue, or even tiny specks crawling along the surface. These are the quiet signals of pests, unwanted guests like mealybugs, spider mites, or scale insects that sneak in when the plant's defenses are down. It's your snake plant's way of saying, "I'm under attack, please pay attention." The truth is, pests often choose plants that are already a little stressed. Overwatered soil, dusty leaves, or low airflow can make your Sansevieria more vulnerable. Once these intruders settle in, they feed on the plant's juices, leaving behind scars, webbing, or that telltale sticky film. For a plant parent, it can feel discouraging to see something so hardy brought low by such tiny enemies. But here's the reassuring part. You can step in and turn the tide. The first step is vigilance. Make it a habit to check your snake plant when you water, running your eyes along each leaf. If you catch pests early, a simple wipe with a damp cloth or a gentle spray of neem oil can stop them in their tracks. A mixture of mild soap and water works too, breaking down the pest's defenses without harming your plant. If the infestation is heavier, isolating the plant from others and treating it consistently gives it the space to recover. What's remarkable is how quickly a healthy snake plant bounces back once the invaders are gone. New growth appears strong, the shine returns to the leaves, and peace is restored. For plant lovers, this moment is more than just relief. It's proof of the bond you share with your greenery. By noticing the subtle changes and acting with care, you protect not just a houseplant, but the sense of calm and beauty it brings to your home. 19. Unsuccessful propagation. When new beginnings struggle to take root. For many plant lovers, propagation feels like magic, taking a single leaf and coaxing it into a whole new plant. With snake plants, that magic is possible, but it often comes with lessons in patience. Sometimes you take a cutting, place it in soil or water, and wait with excitement, only to find nothing happens. No new roots, no growth, just silence. This is your plant's way of saying, the conditions aren't right yet. Snake plants propagate best when they're healthy, mature, and in their natural season of growth. A weak or immature leaf simply doesn't have the energy to create new life. If you cut in winter, when the plant is resting, the process slows almost to a halt. And if you forget to hydrate the plant before cutting, the leaves may not hold enough reserves to push out new roots. For beginners, this can feel discouraging, like you've done something wrong. But really, it's a reminder that timing and preparation matter just as much as technique. To improve your chances, choose a firm, mature leaf. Not too old, not too young. A few days before cutting, water your plants so the leaves are plump and ready. If you're rooting in soil, keep it lightly moist but never soggy, with good drainage to prevent rot. If you're rooting in water, change it regularly and keep the cuttings in a bright, indirect spot. Above all, give the process time. Snake plants are famously slow, and new growth often emerges weeks or even months later. When those first white roots appear, it feels like a small miracle, the reward of your patience and care. Propagation teaches us that not every attempt succeeds, but every attempt teaches. With the right rhythm and a little persistence, soon you'll have not just one snake plant, but many, filling your home with strength, beauty, and the quiet satisfaction of growth multiplied. 10. Fading variegation. When your plant loses its signature stripes. One of the most striking things about many snake plants is their beautiful patterns. The golden edges, the silvery stripes, the bold marbling that makes each leaf feel like a piece of living art. But over time, you may notice those vivid patterns beginning to fade. The yellow borders softening into green, or the stripes blending into a uniform shade. It can feel like your plant is losing part of its identity. In reality, this is your snake plant quietly saying, "I need more light to show you my true colors." Variegation, those beautiful streaks of color, is heavily influenced by light. In dim corners or shadowed hallways, the plant will often reduce its striping to maximize green surface area for photosynthesis. It's a survival mechanism, not a disease. Your snake plant isn't unhealthy. It's simply adapting to make the most of its environment. But if you'd like to preserve that bold decorative look, the solution lies in finding a brighter, gentler home for your plant. The key is balance. Too much direct sunlight can scorch the leaves, leaving them pale and scarred, while too little light slowly erases the patterns. The sweet spot is bright, indirect light, near a window with filtered sun, or beneath a grow light that mimics daylight. Over time, as the plant adjusts, new leaves will unfurl with stronger, clearer variegation, a sign that it has the energy to express itself fully again. This process is a beautiful reminder of how closely plants and people mirror each other. Just as we thrive when given the right environment to shine, so too does your snake plant. When its colors return, it's not just the plant that feels renewed, it's the entire atmosphere of your home, made richer by the presence of a living companion that teaches resilience, adaptation, and the quiet joy of thriving where light is found. Listening to the language of your snake plant. And there you have it, 10 clear ways your snake plant speaks to you. From yellowing leaves to fading stripes, from soft mushy stems to stubborn stillness, every sign is a part of its quiet language. The beauty of caring for Sansevieria is that it never shouts, it never overwhelms, it whispers, nudges, and patiently waits for you to notice. For busy plant parents, for beginners just starting their green journey, and for seasoned gardeners who find peace in tending the smallest details, snake plants are teachers of balance and resilience. If there's one lesson to carry with you, it's that mistakes are part of the process. An overwatered root, a scarred leaf, or a slowed season isn't failure, it's feedback. Your plant isn't asking for perfection, only for presence. A little attention, a rhythm of light and water, and the willingness to learn from each sign is all it needs to thrive by your side. In return, it gives you beauty, cleaner air, and a living symbol of strength standing tall in your home. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these signs in your own snake plant? Which one spoke to you the most? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might just help another plant lover. And if you found today's journey through the language of Sansevieria inspiring, don't forget to hit subscribe to Earthly Delights. Together, we'll keep exploring the wisdom of houseplants and the joy they bring into our lives, one leaf at a time.